Hey yo, what's good, YouTube? Me and Dark and Dragon here. Got a deck profile for you today. Jokes aside, anyway, we got a new deck. It's pretty interesting, lots of fun. It's Luxac the deck, or Fabled, as some have been known to call it. Jokes aside, it's pretty good, but top decking happens. So anyway, let's get to it. First, I'll go through the non-fabled monsters and then on to the fabled ones. First, we're dealing with Reborn Tengu. Just a good level 4. When it leaves the field, special summon another one from your deck. That's pretty fantastic. If you want to synchro summon twice in a turn, this is probably the card you're going to use. Well, shouldn't say probably, but if you have this card, it will happen. Alright, next, Ghost Ship. You can remove from play one light monster to special summon it from your hand. Use this as opposed to Cyber Dragon, because Cyber Dragon needs a monster on your opponent's side of the field. Solar Windjammer, you can't have any other monsters on your side of the field, but it fits in pretty much any time you want to use it, unless you open with it. But even then, it's really not that bad. Next, another level 5, the Tricky. You can discard one card to special summon it from your hand. Get your play started. Discard your Fable monsters, get their effects, or if you needed to, just discard a spell trap card. All 4 of those trap cards. Anyway, but gets your play started. Level 5 gets the laid out pretty simply. The last non-fabled is going to be Morphing Jar number 1. We know what this does. You and your opponent, when it's flipped face up, discard their hands and draw 5 cards. Just watch out for your opponent drawing 5 cards. But honestly, if you're worried about that, you should not be playing this deck. Alright, now on to the Fable monsters. Basically, the main shtick behind these guys is when they're discarded, they summon themselves or other Fable monsters. So think Dark World, only they don't do other things. They only summon themselves. So, without further ado, Trips Fabled Grimro. Basically, when you have a Fabled monster on the field, you can discard that to search one Fabled monster from your deck and add it to your hand. The search of the deck, yeah. So, pretty simple plays. Special summon something, just discard it. Whatever you needed from your deck, add it to your hand. Pretty simple. Also, it's level 4, so other cards I'm going to mention later will definitely combo off of that. For example, Fabled Chawa. You can discard one Fabled monster to special summon this from your hand. The main thing is, there are other monsters that special summon themselves, non-tuners, that you discard and special summon themselves. You discard that, special summon this, and an easy synchro. Level 1, so it'll get you your Formula Synchron, which I'll talk about later. Furthermore, that Grimro I was just talking about happens to be level 4. This is level 1, so that level 5 is going to get this deck going, and you'll see that later too. But pretty good tuner, pretty important also, because the combo thing for that card that gets you Formula Synchron is Fabled Lure. When this card is discarded from your hand, you can special summon it. So like I was saying, discard this with Chawa, special summon Chawa, special summon this, then synchro into Formula, and draw a card. So most of the whole deck is going to be, when you synchro, you want to draw a card. If you're not, you either have a really strong monster or you goofed. So just keep that in mind. A card that I've seen is pretty questionable compared to, with other Fabled players, I'll say, is Fabled Nazuchi. Similar to Chawa, you can discard a Fabled monster to special summon it, but this can also, when it's special summoned this way, you can special summon a level 3 or lower Fabled monster from your hand. I think it's level 2 or lower actually, but either way, you're special summoning another monster from your hand. So it's a non-tuner, so keep that in mind. And just extends your plays in case you're like, my hand is full of tuners, which might happen. You use this, and then you have a easy synchro summon. Alright, the other half of this engine, besides Grimro, I'll say, is Fabled Kushano. They're at 3 here. And this card, when it's in your graveyard, you can discard a Fabled monster to add it to your hand. It's not as good as special summoning it, but it's very, very handy. Say you have, I'm just stuck with these Fabled Lures. What do I do? It's like, let me check my graveyard. Kushano's just sitting there. Use this effect, add it to your hand, and special summon Lure, then normal summon Kushano. Easy, level 4 synchro, which there is one of, but, good stuff. So basically, want to get that in the graveyard as soon as possible. So opening hands this is pretty lame. Just set one. It'll most definitely get destroyed, nowadays at least, and start playing after that. Another tuner going to be running is the Fabled Cerberil. Basically, this guy, when it's discarded, special summons itself from the graveyard. So, level 2 tuner, Pretty straightforward. Just get it discarded with one of the other Fabled effects or other cards, and then spell summon it. Synchro. Pretty easy. And the main combo in this deck is going to be Cerberell is going to synchro with this guy. Fabled Ganashia, or as I like to call it, Ganesh, because I don't feel like saying Ganashia every single time. It's not even that much of a mouthful. Anyway, just being lazy. But basically, this is level 3. When it's special summoned from the when it's discarded to the graveyard, you spell summon it, and it gains 200 attack points, so it becomes an 800 attack point beater. But when it leaves the field after that, it's removed from play. That'll just be something for you to remember, because you're going to be using this effect probably the most out of any card in the deck. Or most frequently, I should say, through different games. Because the combo is going to be just discard this, discard Cerberell, synchro on the level 5, which you'll see, and that is the entire deck. I'm not even kidding. The whole deck. Alright, the last Fabled monster we're going to talk about. I run 2 Fabled Crews. When that's discarded, you special summon 1 level 4 or lower Fabled monster from your graveyard. There is a synchro that you could possibly get with this, but you don't need to. You get back Kushanos, Grimrose, your tuners. If your Ganesh is in the graveyard somehow, you get those back too. Just extend your plays, stuff like that. Good stuff. Really easy special summon. So that's it for the monsters in this deck. Well, main deck anyway. Sorry about that, YouTube. Minor technical difficulties. Anyway, we're getting on with spell cards in this deck. They're just gonna, add to the fuel of the discarding and spell summoning, and refill your hand occasionally also. So first, we got Pot of Avarice, because you're discarding your monsters. So, they'll hit the graveyard and you might want them back. Also, draw 2. Useful. Excuse me. 2 Dark World Dealings. Very handy. It's a -1 technically. But if you discard a monster, say, I don't know, Cruz, Cerberell, something like that, you'll just get it back anyway. Plus you draw a card. So, very useful. Fool's Burial. Just take a monster from your deck, put it in the graveyard. It's going to be Kushano in this case, unless you just have a crazy strategy in your head at the time. Get Kushano in the graveyard, use effect. Useful card. Mind Control. Pretty handy to have. Something really good you can do in this deck is if someone has Stardust, Judgment Dragon, Galaxy Eyes, some other level 8 I can't think of right now, you take it, and then you can just synchro for level 10, because you'll be seeing that relatively shortly also. Something most decks can't do is just go for level 10 willy-nilly like that. 1 Smashing Ground to some removal for the few instances where you just can't get over something. Card Destruction, the infamous -1 that I love so much. Doesn't even count as minus in this deck, honestly. You're getting so many effects off card draws. Off discarding the monster, so it's like plus infinity, really. Alright, some staple cards. 2 MST, Heavy, Darkhold, Monster Reborn. Good stuff. Alright, this next section, I don't even know why I'm talking about it. Trap cards. There are, as I may or may not have mentioned before, 4 trap cards in this deck. And there could just as well be 0. It doesn't really matter too much. But, just in case, I run 2 Bottomless. Because Bottomless. I run 1 Mirror Force. Mirror Force? I like how the explanation of the cards are the name. And Call the Haunted. This Call the Haunted you don't need. You can just take it out and put it in a Compulse, a Torrential, another Mirror Force. It's just, I run it because it's pretty handy. And a lot of the times, what I run into is, I synchro for Formula, but then I can't do anything with it, or I end up not going for Quasar that turn, and then I'll need Formula back. Easy way is with this, or Pot of Avarice, something similar. Very useful for those instances.
So no Psalms.
No Psalms again. Trap cards are, if you needed trap cards that hard in this deck, you're doing it too slow. That's all I'm going to say. Sure, if you want to slow it down a little bit, maybe not go for Quasar so much, then trap cards, like Solid and stuff, perfectly understandable. But in this case, I'll go hard in the paint. You feel me? Yeah. Anyway, that's it for the main deck. The extra deck, it's all over the place. We got level 2s, level 4s, level 10s. It's crazy. But anyway, first, Fabled Kudabi, level 4 synchro. Go figure. It's not armor arm, but it's a level 4 that I would go for because a lot of times you'll just be like, I've got these cards. I've got Ganashia and Chawa in my hand, but nothing else, or something like that will happen. And you're just like, I need to synchro for something with a little more power. I'll use this. Alternatively, you can use Unicorn, which is another Fable monster, with 2300 attack points, different effect. This one, if you have no cards in your hand, this can't be destroyed. If you have 3 or more cards in your hand at the end of your turn, then it is destroyed just automatically. So it's something to keep in mind. But with this deck, having low cards in your hand is pretty easy. Okay. Next, level 5s, I run Hyper Librarian because drawing cards is very important in this deck. A lot of times, you'll be able to go for 5 multiple times in a single turn. So what you want to do is, Hyper Librarian, and then on your next Synchro Summon, you can draw a card. And what other level 5 would you Synchro Summon in a Fabled deck besides Fabled Raging? This particular card is going to be the entire engine of this deck, and you're going to be using it as a material for shooting Quasar. So when you Synchro for it, when it's Synchro Summon, you can, if you have no cards in your hand, you draw until you get 2. I'm sorry, I shouldn't even say it like that. You draw until you have 2 cards in your hand. If you're doing it right, you will have 0, and you'll just draw 2 cards instantly. If you have Hyper Librarian, you can actually draw 3 cards. So this will mostly be what you're going to use. This will be what you will use to get shooting Quasar out. Pardon me, English fail right there. Alright, since you can't be going for level 5s all the time, or level 2s as I was saying, run one guy, 2600 attack points, level 6, pretty strong. There are other level 6s, well the only other one I would run personally is Gravity Warrior, but that's not always going to be as strong as Guy, so I run with this because it's more reliable, in terms of power at least. One Ancient Sacred Wyvern, that wins games, not even going to lie. It's effect to increase its attack points if you're winning the game. It gets pretty out of hand pretty easily. Plus, if you're just losing, when it's destroyed by battle, you can pay 1,000 life points and special summon it again. 2,000 defense points, so that's pretty good anyway. So you can stall with it for a little while, a very little while, but primarily this deck is offense anyway, so there you go. One Chaos King Archfiend. When it declares an attack, it can switch the attack and defense of all face-up monsters until the end of the turn. Pretty good. Basically, just gets over some stuff if you're having problems with, something that's stronger, or say something that you can't destroy with Smashing Ground or some other way. Pretty useful. You can only use Kushano to get this out because it needs a Fiend type tuner, so it's something to keep in mind. My level 8 Fabled is going to be Fabled Valkyris. 2,900 attack points. It's really strong. Very useful, just in general. Plus, you can discard a Fiend type monster from your hand to draw a card. So, say, use Kushano's effect, and you just have it in your hand sitting there, but you can't summon it that turn. Just use Valkyris, discard it, and draw a card. And a lot of times, you'll just top deck into something more useful, like top deck a Cruise or Cerberell or something, and just keep your combos going. Speaking of combos, say, you happen to use that combo I was just mentioning, and, you just end up discarding a Cerberell at the end of it, and you have a level 2 tuner, and then a level 8 synchro. What are you going to do with that? Well, I don't know. How about you synchro for level 10? Fabled Leviathan, when it's destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can add 3 Fabled monsters from your graveyard to your hand. That's just pretty handy. I'm not even going to lie. It's a really good effect. If you summon it, just, you can play a Dark Hole and be like, okay, plus 2, actually. Well, 1, if you're doing math weird. But anyway, it's just really good. You can restart your combos if you need to. Just get your... God, I can't say enough. Very useful. Variable extreme right here. Very, very handy. Another level 8, pardon me, is going to be Scrap Dragon. Just, destroy one of your cards, destroy one of your opponent's cards, and it has 200 attack points. Once again, it's in the same vein as Smashing Ground. Just destroy cards you can't get rid of at the moment. Alright, Form of Synchron. I've been talking about it a lot. When you summon it, draw 2 cards. Level 2 Synchro Tuner. It's going to get your shooting Quasar out. And stuff. Anyway, Stardust Dragon. Basic level 8, And then, of course, since I'm running Formula Quasar and Stardust, might as well go with Shooting Star Dragon. Pretty good. This deck, something to keep in mind, you can just summon this outright. And since you have so many tuners in the deck, you can probably pull off its effect to attack multiple times also. Just pretty good too, just by itself. And then the boss monster of this deck is going to be Shooting Quasar Dragon. As I was saying, you'll be probably able to go for multiple level 5s in one turn. And you can just, a lot of times, just top deck into making a Formula Synchron. So in that case, why not go for Shooting Quasar? I mean, why not, right? Negates a card once per turn, can attack twice, the way you make it, at least in this deck. Very good. Also, when it's removed from the field, you can just special summon Shooting Star Dragon. So, there you go. That's the best card in the deck, obviously. Tons of OTKs happening off of it. You know how it works.
So why no Armory Arm?
Man, don't even get me started on Armory Arm. You can if you want. That's what I'm saying. It's like I only run the Fabled Kudabi as a level 4 because I can special summon it with Cruise, and it's stronger than all the other monsters I can get back with that. So you just need a little muscle here and there. It's better than Armory Arm. Just always better than Armory Arm.
Side deck?
You know what? I'm not meant to, one day I'm just make a video about side decks. But yeah, side decks on you. For this one, you can just side deck some synchros in that you want. I can see you taking out Kudabi, obviously, because if you don't like it, maybe be crazy, do Unicorn. But there's that. Side deck some trap cards in that you want. Say you want to get rid of Dark World Dealings for something to protect you, Solemns, Torrentials, stuff like that. And maybe make Seed if you want. Rank 3 Zen mains if you felt like it. But, that's about it. Ah, crap. I said I was going to have Dark End Dragon in this deck, didn't I? That was the last video, though. Might be. Sorry, guys. Next time, though, a deck with Dark End Dragon, and it will be glorious. So anyway, this is Steve with Neg 11 Studio. I'm out.